Jim Miller here, National Wrestling Hall of Fame, Dan Gable Museum, Waterloo, Iowa. We had a special guest here today. Jose Ramirez drove from Michigan to Waterloo to visit his coach, Willie Gadson. And I know many of you out there know Willie, the impact he had on the wrestling community. And he visited his graveside and now visiting the Gable Museum. And in talking to him, I wanted him to tell his story. He's pretty cool. They met in high school, and he followed him all the way to Eastern Michigan. But go, Jose, why don't you tell us what that was like?
Thanks, Coach. It's a pleasure to be here and speak wrestling and speak on Coach Gadson as well. Two of the things I love the most in life. And I had the blessing and opportunity to meet Coach as a wrestler in high school, in Lely High School in Naples, Florida, is where he and I first crossed paths. He coached me for 2 years in high school there. Then afterwards I followed him to Eastern Michigan University, where he had taken the role as head coach at Eastern. I had the opportunity to compete for him there as well, and got a unique opportunity to only have one coach my entire life.
Wow.
So
tell us about your visit today with his graveside, and tell us about how you initially met Willie.
Well, the way we met is by just chance, and I always mention that there are moments in life where you come across opportunities, and that opportunity presented itself when I was waiting for my brother to pick me up. He was late. I was waiting for the bus, and along came this intimidating presence of a man asking me, the first person he saw, if I knew where the wrestling room was. I had no idea. I was a junior in high school, but I had never wrestled. I wasn't part of the team, and so I just kind of pointed him in the direction of where I saw some guys running around, and I go, I think they're over there. And Coach being Coach, he's always recruiting. That was something that I still do. I think it rubbed off on me. And he asked me, "Oh, I thought you were a wrestler." And I'm like, "No." But, "Well, you look pretty tough." I didn't. I wasn't at all. And so he invited me. He said, "Why don't you come practice tomorrow? I want to see you here tomorrow. You'll be here, right?" And so I had no intention, but I said, "Okay, I'll be there." And the rest is history, in a sense, that he was always encouraging me when I was ready to quit. I mentioned earlier that at the end of the week, I was like, okay, I'll go to one practice and then I'll quit. But just to get him off my back, I don't want to run into him and be avoiding him. And it was hard. It was really tough. As you know, wrestling is a hard sport. And he ran our program like a collegiate level program. And a lot of kids weren't used to that, and I just assumed that's the way it was. So I stuck it out. I had an opportunity to compete for him 2 years in high school, and afterwards he moved on to the collegiate ranks at Eastern Michigan University, where I had the opportunity to follow him as well. And that led me to Eastern Michigan, where I wrestled for him. He was up for Coach of the Year in 1996 when, as a team, we were MAC champions. We had an All-American wrestler in Lee Pritz, who is currently at Arizona State. We had a remarkable team that year, and it was all because he believed in us, and he prepared us like no one else. And we just followed him. So I followed him to the wrestling room that day we met, and I followed him to Waterloo, Iowa today to celebrate his birthday. This was the first time I've been back to the cemetery where he lays since he was laid to rest 7 years ago. I was telling Jared, his eldest son, that to me it was a blessing to be asked by the family to be a pallbearer at the time, because I looked into the crowd that was there in the gymnasium, and there were All-Americans, there were national champions, there were Olympians. Yeah. And for me to be asked to do that was a tremendous honor, and I love the Gadsons. I love Coach Gadson. I came here with my family because we wanted to pay our respects to him. They never really met him, but I think it's important that they know a little bit of my history and a little
Yeah.
bit about him as well. They love wrestling too. They're getting involved in the sport as well. I continue to be involved now as a high school wrestling coach. Last year, or this last season, was the first season for wrestling at our school, Detroit Crystal Ray High School. They had never had wrestling before.
So I bet you're doing some recruiting every day too, aren't you?
I'm recruiting anyone and everyone.
Very good.
I was at an all-boys school prior to that, and so now this school only has 330 kids. So anyone who I can get, I'm recruiting. I continue that from Coach Gadson. I have a saying, always recruiting. I'm always trying to increase participation because I know what it did for me.
Sure.
I know what impact it had on me, and I was telling Ms. Gadson last night that I'm not the best coach because I don't build a program and then move up to a better program. I don't even move laterally to another program that's just as good. I take steps down and somehow go to the worst programs, but that was an opportunity to grow the sport.
For sure.
To take wrestling to the city of Detroit, and we've partnered up with Beat the Streets Detroit, and they have been really helpful in growing the sport in Detroit as well. We were able to do a city championship last year for the first time, so there's more schools picking up the sport because there's more people who have a connection to the sport that are willing to go into the inner cities and bring it to the kids there. So Detroit Crystal Ray High School has been an amazing place for me to try to continue what I've learned and to continue that Gadson legacy. They know about him. Through the way that we train. When I got to college, it was easy in a sense that I had been doing that in high school.
Right.
I knew the techniques that he offered, and I would run through a wall for him anyways. And so when I took the coaching job at the high school I'm at now, it wasn't, success to us was not going to be dictated on championships and victories. Success for us was going to be dictated on creating good young men and young ladies graduating from high school first, which a lot of kids hadn't done, moving on with opportunities to possibly pursue college level, university level, and being the first in their family to graduate from those, to come back and change and impact their community as well. So if we can, and make no mistake about it, I mean, we want to win.
Yeah.
And we train to win, and we expect to win. That was the saying, expect to win with relentless intensity. So
You're talking about, coaching is really one of the most influential occupations in the world. And you're telling your story of a guy like Willie Gadson who changed your life. Not just, you've never wrestled before when you're 15.
Yeah.
And stuck with it, went with him, followed him to college, and now you're giving back to the sport, and we appreciate that, man. And tell us, that we'll end with, it was his birthday today, what'd you bring him?
Well, if more people are aware of that movie Coco, and it's about the celebration of the dead, and in our culture, we celebrate our departed as well, and it's a custom to bring them offerings, some of the things that they enjoyed while they were here with us. And anyone who knows Coach Gadson knows some of those things that he enjoyed. So one of the things we brought him was his dew, his Mountain Dew, because you could always see him carrying around a water bottle for the athletes and a Mountain Dew for him. And he had a sweet tooth that I'm sure made it tough on him making weight back in the day, but we brought him a Snickers bar as well, and cool. that was something that I vividly always remember him munching on and enjoying, and it was a pleasure to bring my family and to reunite with Jared and his family, Kyvan and Miss Gadson.
For sure. We appreciate you stopping. This has been great.
Thank you.
And
Thank you guys.
Happy birthday to Willie Gadson.
Happy birthday, Coach.
Yes, sir.